Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Matt was just telling me that hopefully you will not hear next door. They were doing work during the Wayne's World one as well, I think.
Yes, they were.
So it's all good. It didn't. I don't think it came through. So I think we'll be all right. It's a free podcast. We just do this. It's all right.
Actually, they were really nice about it. They came round and were like, "We're going to knock some walls down."
See, that goes a long way.
It really does.
It does, and it's like I know you have to do that work. I'm not like it's going to be annoying whenever you do it. But I appreciate you have to do it. But I really appreciate that you've come round and just said, hey, it's going to be a bit noisy. Sorry about that. Because I always feel that way. Like I've had people, like we used to have like students or kids living under us.
Oh,
and, and they had a party once and they just came up and said, hey, look, we're going to have a party on Friday. Like, that's all right. I'm like, yeah, like it's going to annoy me while I'm up here and it's happening. Yeah. But you came and told me about it, and you were nice about it. Do you know what I mean? It just goes a long way. Yeah. You're like, you're fine, because you can,
Simple acknowledgement goes a long way.
Exactly, and they say, oh, we're trying to keep the volume down, but, we've just moved in, we've got people coming over. Like, lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
Little bit of respect. Anyway, we're here to talk about movies. I really enjoyed our ramble over Wayne's World last week.
Yep.
It was good times. It was quite rambly, but it was good. It's good rambles. Yeah. This week I'm going to be a miserable fuck. I don't want to be. I
what a way to start the show.
I haven't really seen much good, to be honest. Like it's been okay. I've seen quite a bit of okay this week, but it's fine. Plenty.
It does sort of feel like going back to the sort of COVID times, doesn't it? It's a bit.
Oh man, wait until this writer-actor strike period comes.
When it comes in. Yeah, when it catches up with us.
Do you know, I was speaking to Ben about this the other day. I think this could be a really good thing for us. Because, I feel like there's going to be this resurgence in indie movies, which the pandemic did. I watched a lot of really cool indie films during the pandemic. And I feel like British, and I mean, Talk to Me was a great Australian movie. I'm like, yeah, this is the thing now.
They've already confirmed they've got a prequel done already, and they've got a sequel on the way. So
for what? Talk to Me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That is a really good movie. That is one of my favorite horror movies this year for sure. It's really good. Anyway, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I can make a start. Yeah. I will do The Prisoner's Daughter.
The Prisoner's Daughter, the movie I almost watched.
Yeah.
I picked Red instead, which we said you'd watched a long time ago. Which
both Brian Cox movies. So
yeah, I think that's why I didn't watch this one, because I didn't notice this one, and I'd watched Red, and then I was like, oh, I've just watched a Brian Cox movie. I'll just leave it. So how is The Prisoner's Daughter? Because it's Kate Beckinsale, right?
It is. Yeah. So it's.
I know why you watched it, Matt.
Well, it's a two thing. I love Brian Cox. He is my favorite.
For different reasons, I love both Kate Beckinsale and Brian Cox. Yes. For
very different reasons. Yes.
She is aging so well. I mean, I'm sure she's had work, but if
she's had, and I'm pretty sure she's had work done. She is really aging well. She's
been sensible with the work she's had done.
Yeah, she doesn't look like
Megan
Madonna.
Fox.
Let's put it that way. She doesn't look like Madonna right now.
No.
Directed by Catherine Hardwicke, who'd previously done things like Lords of Dogtown and 13 and Twilight. But we didn't hold that against her.
No, everyone makes mistakes.
So it stars Brian Cox as Max and Kate Beckinsale as Maxine and Christopher Convey as Ezra. So we start off with Brian Cox's character, who has been in prison for, I think it's 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
This time.
Oh, okay.
And he's basically called into the office, and he's told that his cancer has got worse, and he's basically got months to live.
Mm-hmm.
He's told by the warden that if he has family, and he's like, no, I don't have any family, and it's like the warden's like, well, I know you've got a daughter. And he's like, right, well, he said, then what did you ask me for? And he says he says that if you want to, you can spend the rest of your term under house arrest.
Right.
with family if that's
Assuming they will have you back. Yeah.
exactly. So you then sort of move to Kate Beckinsale's character, who is a struggling single mother with a child who's being bullied. He's also epileptic, and she works 2 jobs, but they're
So how
minimum pay. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so her father was absent
Yes.
for most of her life, I'm guessing, in and out of
Yes.
prison, and now her son's father is also pretty much done the same thing and fucked off.
Yes. Well, he turns up at her job,
right,
to say he wants to see his son, and he is a musician who is also like drug addict who's living in a commune, basically.
He sounds great.
Yeah, so it does give you that whole, the alarm bells of, oh great, deadbeat dads. That's kind of all over.
Well, no, I just thought that's the theme of the movie is that,
yes,
and that's fair enough if you've written a cool theme around it,
Yeah, and the
and it's presumably a redemption story, right? So,
sorry,
it's presumably a redemption story.
Yes. Tyler is played by Tyson Ritter.
That name sounds familiar.
He's the lead singer of a band, and I cannot remember which band it is. Oh, All American Rejects.
Okay, I have no idea who that is.
I'm vaguely aware of, but couldn't.
My knowledge of music ends in 1999. I'm afraid.
Yeah, so. Mine does too. Really. So he turns up being a bolshy twat, and he ends up getting her fired. So of course she goes home. Her son comes home with a black eye, and he's been basically suspended because of fighting. It's like he was the one who was beaten up, but he gets suspended too.
Yeah, there was a rule like that in my school, I think.
Sorry?
There was a nonsense rule like that in my school, I think.
I think there is, yeah.
Whereas, like, even if you were...
any altercation, isn't it? It's all involved.
It's like, well, we'll just, rather than do any investigative work or try and find out the truth, we'll just suspend both of you. Like, okay, great.
The kid who's set upon by 3 other kids, it's fine, We'll lump him in there as well.
Why not?
He's clearly done something. So they're running out of his medication.
Right.
His epilepsy, so he's only taking sort of halves and stuff, and that seems to be his epilepsy. It seems to be part of his bullying because they call him Twitcher. So Max phones her and says, I'm dying. I'd like to see you, sort of thing, and she basically tells him to do one.
Mm-hmm.
She's not interested.
Yeah.
But basically, through the fact that she's got no money, she tries to buy the medication for her son, but she doesn't have enough. Her card's declined. She has no money on it. She goes to see her husband. He's got 20 quid to his name, basically. He's just like, he's fucking useless.
And that's for drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes sort of back home. She phones him she phones her dad, and she says, look, can you pay me rent? I'm only doing this because I need the money. But, you're not my dad, so don't tell Ezra that you're my dad. Tell him you're my uncle or something, that, I've just met again for years and all that.
Sure.
So, of course, he comes to live with them, and the kid's, like, smart as fuck, so he's immediately like, yeah, after a couple of days, it's like, yeah, he's your dad.
Yeah.
You're like, you lied and told me that he was dead, but, I'm not stupid. And obviously you get, the things of, like, you find out that Brian Cox he used to be a boxer.
Right.
And he was also a enforcer. So the kid says to him, what were you in prison for? And he said, which time? And he went, you were in more than once. He went, oh, how many times were you in? He says, more than I care to remember. And he basically says, I was in jail for negotiating. Like, what do you mean? He's like, well,
technically right.
The people I used to work for used to, when they wouldn't do, something, I'd go and negotiate with them. And he's like, you mean you beat them up? He's like, yes.
That's what the Jedi call aggressive negotiations?
Yes, exactly. So you're getting the sort of the family dynamic stuff, and obviously Max calls in a few favors to get their house sorted and things, and he gets some money from his friend who at some point he gave money to open a gym, played by Ernie Hudson.
Nice.
To get a nice little, not only small, but a little role from Ernie Hudson, who's this boxing gym owner, who gets some money and stuff. And there's this a really sweet thing. Initially he says he hasn't got any money for him, sort of thing, and he says, he apologizes, but then he turns up at his house and he gives him this like big wad of money, and he says, I managed to scrape some money together, sort of thing, and Brian Cox grabs hold of his hand and turns his arm over, and you can see that he's got like a band where his watch was. And it's like, oh, I like that. That was very cool. That was very well done. It was just a nice little sort of thing. And you get from there, you get the sort of the dad turns up at his birthday party and he's a prick and all that sort of stuff. And it's a nicely put together movie. You're not going to see anything terribly original. It will hit most of the beats that you're expecting. It has a very sort of almost Gran Torino feel to it at times.
Okay.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, I was going to say that's fine.
What it does have is two brilliant performances by Cox and Beckinsale.
They're both really good actors. So,
exactly. It's I mean, you could say duh.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Cox, I feel like, can elevate any script. He's just one of those actors. So but I always think Kate Beckinsale is a little overlooked. I think her acting ability is she's pretty good. Yeah,
she started off doing lots of sort of period pieces and things like that. She was in a lot of, so she's got the chops for it. I think she sort of fell into the sort of romantic comedy.
Underworld and then romantic comedies, yes. She's kind of known for two things, and I feel like they underserve her a little.
They do, but I think they're two things.
And don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the Underworld movies.
And I love the Underworld movies.
Yeah, me too.
Even the rubbish later ones.
Well, less them. The first two, for sure, I enjoyed.
Yeah, the first two were brilliant, but the others are fun.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And I mean, I even liked her in fluff like Jolt, sorry. Which I think it was last year, was it?
Van Helsing?
Yeah. I mean, that movie is a complete mess, but
yeah.
It's fun. And I think she has a very good sense of humor about
for sure.
In.
Yeah.
And this is one of those roles where it's a nice dramatic role for her that I think the fact that she's working against Cox, maybe brings her performance up, a notch. And they're really good. And the kid, Christopher Convery, he's really good. He is this, really wiry little bright spark who, just kind of wants to know his family a bit more, and who loves his dad, but it is a sort of redemption role for Cox, and the beats are there, but they're really well done beats. I mean, I would recommend this just for those two performances alone, because they're really good. And it's a very small movie. It's mostly in just this little house, and I really enjoyed it, actually. It's a really nice sort of family drama that has two fantastic performances.
Yeah.
That just elevate the material just that bit much, only because of that. I think if it was any lesser actors, it would just be
Yeah, like if it was an indie movie with just new actors you've never heard of, it would be fine, but not anything special. But the addition of
I've gotten a look in I certainly probably wouldn't have watched it. I mean, Catherine Hardwicke gets it a little kudos for some of her movies, maybe not all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's completely elevated by Beckinsale and Cox, and I would recommend it for that. It's got a really I liked the ending. I could see it coming.
Sure.
But that's I don't think that's a problem.
No, sometimes that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's a really enjoyable drama movie with two amazing performances.
Cool. Well, shall we move on to the Batman?
Yep.
The Doom that came to Gotham.
Yeah.
I believe that this is an animated adaptation of a graphic novel or comic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Mike Mignola.
Right. So is it a continuation of the Gotham by Gaslight?
No.
It's a separate thing.
Completely separate.
Right. Because he's wearing a very similar outfit. So I was like, oh, is it the same Batman or is it different? Because I didn't watch Gotham by Gaslight. So I didn't know.
I love Gotham.
Well, I like the comic. I just haven't watched
it's one of my favourite.
I've read the comic. I haven't watched the movie. So
it's actually not bad. I think I reviewed it for the show a while
ago.
You
did? Yeah, you did.
It's got some nice stuff in it. It's I think the quality of the DC animated is very much becoming like the actual overall.
It's
DC
such a shame. There was a period when it was like Red Hood and stuff like that, when the DC animated stuff was literally the best comic book stuff you could find.
Yeah.
And it feels like pretty much since they did Killing Joke, it's been a mixed bag. I liked The Long Halloween. I did like The Long Halloween. But it's been up and down, and some of them are awful, some of them are fine.
The Killing Joke was annoying because it had the cast that we wanted.
I just don't know what they were thinking with. That was the one I left that like, I don't know what on earth you were thinking.
Yeah. Why
on earth did Barbara Gordon need to become a love interest for Bruce Wayne? It's weird and creepy and gross and just it's really bizarre. And the story does not need it one bit. It was just such a strange choice.
The thing is it's a very slight volume. Killing Joke is very. I think a lot of these are very.
Yeah, but you could add things around it. You don't need to create a bloody romance between Barbara and Bruce.
I guess they obviously wanted more to do with Batgirl and Barbara.
I feel like
she's
I
only in the comic for basically the shots where she gets.
Yeah, but I think you could have had her, with with Robin or Tim Drake, I guess, or whoever.
She's got an amazing history with Grayson.
That's true. Dick Grayson. You could have done it with Dick Grayson, have her and Dick Grayson spending more time together, and that would have been great. And then you would have had that impact of the tragedy affecting someone who's in a relationship with her or in love with her. That would have made far more sense. Bizarre choice. But anyway,
very odd.
We're talking about this film.
Yes.
The Doom That Came to Gotham. And I really like the concept of this film. I've always kind of felt like I like Batman is a ninja dude.
Yes.
And I most like Batman when he is for me, I like Batman when he's the detective and he uses the theatrics and stuff to scare his opponents and scare the I think I prefer Batman when he's taking on the criminal underworld rather than the superpowered things, right? But I love
for all intents and purposes he's Sherlock Holmes with slightly more ninja skills.
Yeah, and but what I like about this is I like the idea. So the idea for this is that it's basically a Lovecraftian world that Batman's world is inhabited by is in a Lovecraftian world. It's like a what if Batman was Lovecraft, right?
I think that's the problem with a lot of these now is that because we're all slightly tainted by the whole multiverse things at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they've now become like an annoyance.
Yep.
It's annoying because I like a lot of Elseworld stuff. I'm a big fan of like I said, I love Gotham by Gaslight. I love some of the other ones. Have you ever read Rain?
No.
He's a vampire in that one.
Okay.
Which is again, it's over the top and it's silly, but I really love it. There's even Castle of the Bat, which is where he's Frankenstein's monster.
He fights Dracula as well at some point, right?
Yeah.
What I like about this, though, is I like the idea that they have taken the more extreme, ludicrous Batman villains and made them Lovecraftian creatures.
Yeah,
that's a really cool concept. You know, you've got like Killer Croc is now like a Cthulhuian creature. You know, he's like a Lovecraftian,
a slightly more disgusting version of Killer Croc.
It's cool, like things like that. I'm like, this is a cool idea.
And I like the Oswald Cobblepot is like when he's only in it very briefly, but he's
cool though with his creepy penguin creatures
in the Arctic with
creepy penguin creatures,
creepy altered penguins.
Yeah, so this movie kind of opens with Bruce Wayne. Effectively, he's tracking Cobblepot in like the North Pole or somewhere, and on this expedition, because it is Lovecraftian style. Is set in like the 20s, I guess.
Yes.
Or possibly slightly earlier. And
it's 20s.
It is the 20s. So he effectively ends up through. I guess it's weird. The synopsis says that it's his fault, but it wasn't really Bruce's fault. He didn't let it out. But as a result of his actions, involving trying to take down Cobblepot, who I think Cobblepot was part of his expedition before, right, and went mad or something, and that's why he was tracking him down.
He's been missing. I think
he's been missing. That's right. He was investigating his disappearance.
Yeah.
He ends up releasing this entity.
Yeah,
and it's very Cthulhu-y. You can see the outline of it, and it's clearly a massive squid monster.
It's Yogg-Sothoth, Sothoth, isn't it? I think.
Did they name it? I guess maybe they did.
I thought they did, maybe not. I don't know, but it's definitely
right.
One of the Cthulhu creatures.
Yeah, clearly, you can see from the outline that it is something. But in any case, obviously, this doom then ultimately comes to Gotham, and it's about Batman taking down. Or bringing an end to this kind of world-ending evil. There were bits I really liked that you do get the Batman does temporarily go insane when he sees the Cthulhu-like entity, and I'm like, cool, good, that's how it should be. And like I said, I did enjoy, they're like, oh, we've got, what can we do with, Ra's al Ghul? Well, we can do the Lovecraftian thing where he's dabbling in things, and it's cool. It's a good idea, right? There are some really nice ideas. I think the problem for me is the execution.
Yeah, the way it's woven into the the
mythos,
the overall mythos of Batman works really nicely. You know, is what better explanation for things like Killer Croc than
Man-Bat? Is Man-Bat in this? Did I make that up?
Kurt Landstrom's in it. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he's dead basically.
Yeah.
But he was annoyingly Kurt Landstrom in this is voiced by Jeffrey Combs.
Yes.
And they missed the trick.
I know. I did think that. It's like, dude, you've literally got Reanimator here. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
A bit where I was going to say Arthur Dent. Harvey Dent goes to see. That would have been so interesting. Harvey Dent goes to see Herbert West as his doctor, and you think, well, why didn't Jeffrey Combs voice that?
He could have voiced both, and I would have been fine.
That's true. Yeah, no one would have cared.
No.
It would have been very cool.
Because as soon as you hear that voice, I'm instantly like Reanimator.
Yeah.
Or is that either going to be Reanimator or Wayun? Is the two things that will immediately come to my head. But given that it was a Lovecraftian style story, I immediately was like Reanimator.
Yeah. He's even played H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's true. He has. Yeah. So, there are a lot of things I like about this movie. I just feel like there was something missing. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's okay.
It's dull.
Yeah, it is a little dull.
It's bad to say, but
no, I agree. I think that's exactly it. I think the elements are there for a really cool Batman story.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether it should have been a short. Really.
I think they could have just handled it. I think one of the worst things for me is I think also the voices are so lifeless.
Mm-hmm. That's why when you've got someone like Jeffrey Combs turn up, it is like, highlight, because it is the voice acting is not terrible,
no,
but no one stands out.
No, The guy who's playing Batman, I think he's played him previous. He's voiced him previously.
I think he did the Batman versus Robin. I think it's the same guy, isn't it?
Yeah, David Guntoli, who
he's fine. He's not,
he's pretty good in Grimm. He's not the greatest of actors.
Oh no, Grimm. I meant as Batman, he's okay. Like he's not awful.
But again, no life.
No, agreed.
And I know, he's.
Oh no, sorry. So he did Batman: Soul of the Dragon. Never even heard of that film. So yeah.
I know Bruce Wayne isn't supposed to be the lively. Well, Bruce Wayne actually is.
Bruce Wayne's
slightly livelier usually, but Batman's not the most lively of characters, but he's got personality. He's got a presence. Here he's just sort of nothing. It's just very dull. And even the guy who's voicing Green Arrow or Oliver Queen.
Now
he's not Green Arrow in this.
The character of Green Arrow in this, I loved.
Yeah.
The performance, not so much, but I love.
That's the thing. The stuff he's saying is like, why isn't this grabbing me?
Yeah.
The stuff he's saying is
like
great.
Dad was a Knight Templar and stuff. It's like, this is awesome. This is really cool. Because basically it turns out, well, spoilers, but isn't it it was a while since I watched this and it's going from my mind. I believe that Oliver Queen's father killed Bruce's parents, right?
Yes.
And Oliver has befriended Bruce and is on this crusade now to right that wrong.
Yeah, he believes he's the chosen one that is going to defeat the doom that's coming to Gotham.
Yes.
So
which is great. That's really cool.
It is.
But you're right. The performance just doesn't quite reach that point. No. And you're right. There are so many bits in this movie where you're like, I should be more excited than I am because on paper this is awesome.
I mean, the fight between him and Poison Ivy should be spectacular.
Yeah.
But it's just filmed. Well, I say filmed. It's just animated in a very dull, flat way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I think is it Mignola actually drawing the original comic? I can't remember if it was on or art, whether he just wrote it. But the art in it is very stylized.
Yeah,
it's I'm not sure if it is Mignola drawing, but if it's either way, it's like Hellboy has a very distinct look.
Yes.
Because Gotham by Gaslight is the same. It's the same writer, same artist. So it has that very distinct, almost grotty, sort of look. And they didn't do that with this. They sort of made it a little more safe, I guess.
Yeah.
It feels very safe. Not that it doesn't look good, because it still looks pretty good, and it's animated fine. It's not the actual worst animation I've seen DC do in recent times. But it's just very flat and boring and dull, and the stuff that it's showing should be amazing. It should really pop. I mean, how do you make fucking Etrigan dull, for fuck's sake? I love Etrigan.
Yeah,
it's just more of a disappointment than anything. It's not a bad movie. It's just a meh movie. I mean, there's stuff that they've changed. I mean, obviously they wanted to add a little more diversity to it. So in the comic, I know it's his ward. It's literally his wards are Dick, Jason, and Tim. Whereas in this version, it's just Dick and is it Sanjay?
Sanjay, yeah.
And Kylie.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got I think an Indian boy, and I think she's Chinese girl, which is like, okay, fine, but it's just seems slightly unnecessary. Just sure, you wanted a bit of diversity. There you go. Good for you.
They were fine as characters,
but that's the thing. They didn't. It's not like they destroyed anything or anything. It just seemed a bit pointless when it could have been.
Yeah.
Jason and Tim.
That's the thing. I think that's the problem when you do what is effectively an Elseworlds story. Is that I'm like, well, if you're turning something into something else, like you've gone like, what if Batman was Lovecraftian? then I want to see all of the characters and what they're like in this Lovecraftian world, and replacing some of the core characters with just random people. It's like, well, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity where we could have seen, other characters in the Batman universe instead, and just see what they are like. Because what they did with Oliver Queen was genius. I was like, that's really cool. That's a really cool idea,
And what they do to Two-Face is interesting.
Yes, I liked that a lot, with the itch and just getting worse and worse. That was really cool.
And actually gross.
Yeah.
Obviously, comic, where it's drawn, and the way it is, it's obviously much darker and much grimmer in the comic. There is a certain level of sanitation that they've done for the movie, which I guess what is it? It's a 12, so they obviously wanted a younger audience, I suppose, and they probably didn't want to deal with some of the nastier stuff, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like I said, it's got some lovely. It's a pretty. Other than a few changes, it's a pretty faithful adaptation, just sanitized.
Right.
So it's not awful.
No, I liked it. It felt like watching it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. I just felt like on paper I should have absolutely loved it, and instead I was like, it's fine. It's not bad. I enjoy it, but it's not great.
Maybe if it was the voices were re-recorded,
to
give them a little more life,
that would help for sure.
I think it would. It would just lift it up a little.
Yeah. But it's not bad. It's worth a watch. It's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Batman fan, then I think it will certainly.
There are worse Batman films.
Yeah, it'll scratch your itch. It's certainly not the worst of the animated movies I've seen in recent years. So it's at least enjoyable. Yeah.
And speaking of enjoyable, I watched Shin Masked Rider, Kamen Rider, Masked Rider over here apparently. So this is the third movie in the Shin universe, which is not really a traditional Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a universe of separate stories, but with Shin in front of them. They're basically reimagining all of.
It sounds like they sort of gone, what can we do to make them like slightly nastier and sort of weirder? We'll just put Shin in front of it.
Well, I guess they are. Well, they're not always that way. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Like the more I watch these Shin movies, the more I'm like, they are just retellings, and they're very faithful to whatever they're remaking. Effectively, they're quite faithful. Like Shin Godzilla, which I, as you have said many a time, I think is a masterpiece. I absolutely love Shin Godzilla. Is a very tonally similar and commentary, political commentary, social commentary, very similar to the original Godzilla. Shin Ultraman similarly was very lighthearted, very fun, and felt very episodic, and was very humorous, like the original Ultraman was in places. Although it had quite a touching ending and stuff. It has serious moments, but there's a lot of kind of the humor and silliness that goes along with Ultraman. And here, Shin Masked Rider, we get an ultra violent, gory, well, not gory, bloody, very bloody, version of Kamen Rider. So, again, I don't know as much about Kamen Rider as I do, obviously, Godzilla or Ultraman. So, but what I know of it is, I know it is quite bloody and violent, and they've continued that here. I've seen a couple of episodes of Kamen Rider in the past, but I think
there's a number of versions of it, isn't there? I think as well. I think it's been.
Yeah, I've seen some of the original show, and I watched quite a bit of the more recent. Is it Black Sun? They did. There was a version called Black Sun, I think, was out on Amazon. I watched a few episodes of that as well. And basically, this is a retelling, as I understand it. It's kind of a retelling of Masked Rider, or Kamen Rider, and much like Shin Ultraman. And I think this is where we get this thing, right? Where Shin Godzilla was a movie, and it was one movie and one story, just like Godzilla was one movie and one story, and that is fine. When we get to Shin Ultraman, they're like, well, it was a series, so let's make a series as a movie. And that's very much what Shin Ultraman feels like. When you watch Shin Ultraman, it's like, I am watching a season of TV in like 2 hours. Like there's like so much going on. It's like they fight one monster and then another monster turns up. They fight that monster and then another monster turns up and they fight that monster. And then there's this storyline and then that storyline and then this storyline. It works somehow in Shin Ultraman.
Okay.
But it feels very much like you've taken a season of TV and made it into a movie, and things go at like a breakneck pace where they go from one crisis to the next crisis, and they've done the same here.
The Japanese have done that a lot with their anime.
Yes.
You know, the when they've made like a movie version of an anime, it's usually
shove as
like
much
a
as we can.
condensed series, and a lot of them are just messy and unwatchable.
Well, that's the thing. So with Shin Ultraman, it worked. I feel like it works less here, not as well.
Yeah.
They've done very much the same thing. It feels like each of the enemies they face feels like it should be its own episode, but instead it's just all in a movie, one after another, and it just kind of continues like that. And they also do, I think I'm right in saying that in the original Kamen Rider, the actor playing Kamen Rider injured himself, and they replaced him with someone else. But instead of just recasting him, they made him another Kamen Rider. So there was like a second Kamen Rider. Yeah. This movie does that. There's 2 Kamen Riders by the end of the movie because they also shove that in. They're like, let's just shove everything into this movie. And as a result, I mean, it's very fast paced in places. It's very violent. The fight scenes are cool. There's some really cool bikey things and fighty things, and some cool designs with the different orgs and the different types. You got like spider type org and a vampire bat type org and stuff, and they're all really cool designs and cool fights and stuff. But it does, like, there's just so many things and nothing has time to breathe. It's like we go from, like, it starts with a fight and the opening is really cool because it is just like straight into the action. He's fighting the spider org, I think, and it's just this big fight scene, fight, and then like loads of exposition, and then on to the next fight, and then loads of exposition, and on to the next fight, and that's pretty much how the movie goes. But I did find in this movie particularly, the pacing was just weird. It was too much. It somehow like goes at a breakneck pace, but also somehow manages to be kind of dull in places. And that sounds really, I can't really explain that other than to like say you'd have to see it to see what I mean. But it just, for some reason, and it could just be that I'm not as familiar with Kamen Rider, right? That might be it. That might be why I preferred Shin Ultraman. That may be it. Because like I talk about Shin Godzilla and I'm like, I would recommend Shin Godzilla to anyone.
Yeah.
If you don't like Godzilla, I still think you should watch Shin Godzilla. I think it's a wonderful movie. Shin Ultraman, I think I said in my review last year, I was like, I wouldn't recommend this unless you like Ultraman. Like, and that's kind of what I'm wondering if I was like as big a fan of Kamen Rider as I was Ultraman, I'd probably think higher of this, I think. So it may be some of that. There's some really cool action scenes. I do think they've just shoved too much into the movie, and unlike with Ultraman, it doesn't work quite as well for me. The other issue is I don't really like the first Kamen Rider. Takeshi Hongo, who is the first Kamen Rider in the movie, he's okay. He's kind of got like he's a bit dull as a personality.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then later in the movie, we meet the second Kamen Rider, who is way better, like way cooler. Hayato Ichimonji. Now he's like a journalist, and he made into the second Grasshopper org. And becomes Kamen Rider 2 because he like breaks his programming and whatever. He's way more cooler, you know. He's got way more personality, and I guess that's probably how it was in the show, right? So it's probably the same. But you do kind of feel like I was like, oh, I wish the whole movie was him, to be honest. But it's not terrible. It's fine. It's got some great visuals. It's really bloody and violent, which is fun.
I just noticed Shinya Sakamoto's in it.
Yes, yeah.
Is he a bad guy by any chance?
He is. Yeah, it's like kind of. You know how it is. He's the father, I think, of he's the father.
Okay.
Yeah, he bit shady, but it's
The thing is,
mm.
this appeals to me slightly more than the Ultraman.
You may love it. I mean, I didn't hate it. I just think for like if I was ranking them so far, I would rank them in the order they came out.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, it's the same director, isn't it?
It's the same director, yeah. For this one in Ultraman, I think it's the same director.
And
I think it's just producer of Shin Godzilla, right?
No, director as well.
Oh right, okay. But yeah, it's fine. It's like I said, it's very fast paced. It feels like they've shoved an entire season of Kamen Rider into a movie, and I just felt like it worked a little better in Ultraman than it does here. But there are some great fight scenes. There's some really fun moments. I would certainly, if you're a fan of Kamen Rider, I'm sure you'll love it. I'm not such a fan of Kamen Rider. If anything, this movie has said to me that I need to go back and watch the original Kamen Rider through, which is something I've always wanted to do. But
I know I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, same. I've seen the odd episode and bits. But I
think it was one of those things I think that was massive in America. I think it was bigger in America than it was over here.
Yes, I don't think it ever took off properly here.
No. Which, I mean, annoyingly, a lot of the Japanese stuff took off way better in the States than it did over here.
It did, yeah. But yeah, I certainly recommend it if you're a Kamen Rider fan. I think you'll love it. I could tell from watching it there are a lot of references I didn't get that I'm sure I would love, like I did with Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman, where I was like, oh my god, they've done this and they've done that, and with this I was like, I think this would mean more if I'd seen the original. But yeah, I just don't think it works quite as well here, but it's not terrible. I did enjoy it, and yeah. What else have you watched, Matt?
So I also watched They Cloned Tyrone.
They Cloned Tyrone. I was tempted to watch this one. It looks weird.
It is weird.
Because isn't it like modern day, but it looks like it's set in the 70s? It's kind of a weird, like, they're all dressed like the 70s, even though it's modern day. And I'm like, is it a parallel universe, or like, what's the deal? So I'm curious.
So basically, it's John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and Teyonah Parris.
I don't know Teyonah Parris, but solid cast.
She was in the Candyman movie, the new one.
Oh, okay.
And she's also Monica Rambeau in the Marvels.
Oh, she was fine in Candyman. I'm looking at her now. I haven't seen the Marvels, obviously, but
no, probably won't. To be honest,
I think
most of the Marvel stuff at the moment, I'm probably going to give it a pass.
Yeah, I think we're done.
She's pretty good in this.
Cool.
So yeah, so it's sort of modern day but 70s.
Sure.
It's filmed with like a filter, so it's got this sort of grainy blaxploitation look about it.
Okay.
Which I really appreciated. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I like blaxploitation movies, so I'm down with it.
So we're introduced to John Boyega's Fontaine, who is basically a listless drug dealer, and you've also got Slick Charles, played by Jamie Foxx, who is a pimp, and Teyonah Parris's Yo-Yo, who is one of his whores.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you see the sort of the day-to-day grind of Fontaine getting his money from people, and working out and doing some stuff with his kid, and then running over a rival drug dealer, and then he basically through over a very short period, gets killed. He gets shot,
Right.
and dies, and then wakes up the next day with no real memory of the previous day's events.
Right.
So he goes back to Slick Charles to get his money from him, and of course, I mean, the day before he went to him to pick up his money, and obviously he'd been hiding from him in this hotel, so he'd gone and got his money, and it was outside the hotel that he got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he turns up, and Slick Charles is like, "What the fuck? You look like you're dead. How could you be?" You know.
Oh, so it's not like everything's reset. It's just he doesn't know that he died, even though he died, and now he's just back. Right.
Pretty much anybody around saw him get popped.
Okay.
He was most definitely dead.
Yeah.
But now appears not to. And then through a series of sort of misadventures, they find that there's something maybe in the chicken they're eating.
Right.
And weird people are bringing products that seem to be affecting people. Like the hair products in the salon seem to be dumbing people down.
Right.
And things like that. And then they discover that there's a hidden base underneath.
Presumably a cloning facility, is it?
Yeah, so basically, right. I don't know how much to sort of say, really. Basically, everybody under the ground is obviously white. It's not exactly run by, but it's overseen by Nixon, who's played by
Nice
Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, that's awesome.
Who's doing that? Have you seen Aliens versus Monsters?
Aliens versus Monsters?
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
No, I don't think I have. I was thinking I've seen Aliens versus Cowboys. I didn't know Aliens versus Monsters, so no, I have not seen that.
Oh, it's really fun. It's
Okay.
basically a bunch of sort of like 50s B-movie monsters. So you've got Reese Witherspoon is Ginormica, who's basically the 50-foot woman sort of thing.
Oh, so it's all like atomic age.
So you've got the sort of Bob, who is like the Blob, and you've got Dr. Cockroach.
Oh, this sounds right up my street. Why haven't I seen this?
It's really fun. It's really good. Dr. Cockroach is Hugh Laurie. Seth Rogen is Bob, who's really funny. And then you've got the creature from the Black Lagoon. And basically Earth is invaded, and the
monsters have to fight off the invasion.
Employed to
sounds fun.
Fight them off. It is. It's really funny. And Kiefer Sutherland plays this the general who oversees the prison where the monsters live. Right. And he's got this sort of southern drawl. He's like a shouty southern general, and he seems to be basically doing that character here. He's a sort of shouty southern guy. So I really like the way it was filmed. I like it was, like I said, it's filmed very much like it's a blaxploitation movie.
Mm-hmm. Which I do like. I do like a lot of blaxploitation movies, and I like the modern versions as well. So yeah.
There's been a few pretty good ones actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Boyega is great as Fontaine. I think he's seems to have hit this rut where he's.
I know. I'm so like
really talented dude who
Star Wars fucking broke him, and I'm so sad about it because he's such a talented actor, and he deserves so much goddamn better.
He's certainly the best fucking thing in this movie.
He was the best goddamn thing in the Star Wars movies.
Well, the
first movie, it was like
the first one. He's got a fucking character.
Great, yeah, I know. Oh,
and
so
then
annoying.
They dumb him down and make him an idiot for the rest.
Yeah, it seems like even he regrets it now. So
oh god, yeah.
I think he was probably regretting it all along. But once you get to the point where you're getting paid, you have to say certain things. I understand.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're free of that now, so we're starting to hear. But that's
just. Characters are great.
I hope that this movie can elevate him back to where he belongs. To be honest,
maybe. I mean,
because he's great. He's really good.
I think it seems to be going down quite well.
It's on my list. I was meaning to check it out. I'm just not doing. I'm not in Netflix right now, so
Yeah,
when I get
that's
back to Netflix, I will definitely be checking it out.
Jamie Foxx is fine. He's not really stretched or anything. He's just
He's good though.
yeah, he's all right. Tiana Paris is quite fun. Honestly, it's feels to me like overall it's a movie that's basically Jordan Peele light.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's obviously got its social commentary angle, which is fine.
Well, that is absolutely fine.
Yeah,
I think
it is.
Is it less pretentious than Jordan Peele? I guess is the key thing.
Yes.
Well, that's something. I mean, I find it really difficult with Jordan Peele because I do like a lot of his stuff. I find I am increasingly disliking his newer stuff, if I'm honest. But that's just maybe me.
Yeah, he's not really done much for me, but
okay.
I think it's again the very much the performances probably at least make it worth a watch.
Yeah.
Especially
It's
Boyega's character. When you get to the sort of underground, the underground stuff, and I'm not going to give sort of too much away. There is some interesting ideas. There's some nice sort of like moments. The overall plan when you find out what's going on is a sort of okay. I'm sure there are easier ways. What you're doing. But fine, and it doesn't really explain.
Do we need?
There are certain details that just don't quite make sense. I think is the easiest way of putting it without giving anything away.
See, I feel like I'm like I said this about Us as well. Speaking of Jordan Peele, where I really love Us until they try and explain anything. And then it's like, this is really dumb now. Why did you try and explain anything? Like I'm from that, like the Twilight Zone is my favorite TV show of all time. And I feel like it's fine to not explain things sometimes. It could just be a weird thing and I'll be happy with that, And I kind of feel like maybe that would be the case here if it was just like, yeah, we're just been cloning you. It's fine.
Especially with, some of the weirder movies. I mean, look at Lynch and Cronenberg.
Yeah, exactly, right?
They don't fucking feel the need to explain themselves.
No, it's fine. And leaving an intelligent audience to read what they want into something is fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Absolutely. I think it's something that needs to happen more in bloody movies than trying to make.
I think so.
Make it so that everybody. I mean, especially recently when one of the guys behind The Witcher basically said, "Oh, we dumbed down The Witcher because Americans are stupid." You think, wow, dude,
did he say that?
Way to fucking kill your career.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Where do you work? Hollywood.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And I know it's a standard. It's always been one of those standard things. It's that we need to make this movie, dumb enough for Americans to understand. We've heard that from execs for fucking decades. It's not a new thing, but usually they're a little more clever about fucking announcing it, or at least they don't announce. They certainly don't get one of their writers to fucking say it.
No. Wow.
So I think in certain things a certain amount of ambiguity is fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way to go.
If it's good enough, it'll find a bloody audience.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not be the hit that you intend.
Sure.
But, I mean, it's never really damaged Cronenberg and Lynch. They've got their core. I mean, I'll watch anything those two do. So,
yeah.
I mean, it might. I guess that's not a great pull, but there are certainly people that will do it. Yeah, it's fine. It's not gonna wow you or anything. It's an interesting enough movie that's again elevated by the performances. You will want to stay with these characters because they're interesting enough and they're fun. And Boyega's just a bloody charming dude.
Yeah, it looks like a very fun movie from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, there are some really nice moments of sort of pathos with his character that you just think, this dude should be in really good movies. He just, doesn't seem to be getting them. I think there was
It feels like, Attack the Block was like my first. I think it was the first film I saw him in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the first movie.
And it was like, this dude is destined for greatness. And then he got Star Wars, and I was like, oh my god, he's got Star Wars. That's great for him. And then we saw Star Wars, and it was like, oh no. And then since then, it's kind of like you said, it's stalled a bit because he did. He did that awful.
Did Detroit, which I think got really
wasn't
good.
he? He was in the awful Pacific Rim sequel, right?
Yeah.
And I love Pacific Rim.
I mean, I like Pacific Rim, and the second one
is awful.
Fun moments in it, but it's not good.
It's a shame. Hopefully he'll.
He voiced Bigwig in a version of Watership Down. My God.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either.
Okay.
Yeah, he's.
Well, I will certainly be watching this one when I come back to Netflix. I
would say for because it's not horror. It's I think a lot of the comedy elements fell flat for me a little.
Okay.
But I think I would kind of recommend it as an oddity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's not. I wouldn't if somebody said, I really want to watch a really, really good film, I certainly couldn't say, well, go watch this because it's a really good movie. It's not. It's an interesting movie with some neat ideas done by a pretty good cast. That's cool. Kind of all I can really say about it.
Yeah, well, I will certainly be checking this one out at some point. Probably whenever is Gamma out yet. Whenever the Gamma series is out, I'll be back on Netflix. So at that point, I will watch this. But anyway, I watched Kandahar.
One of the movies I nearly watched and didn't get round to.
Yes, it's the Gerard Butler has fallen into a hole of mediocre action movies, and some of them are okay, some of them not so much. It just seems to be the thing he does now. Or at least he went through a phase of doing a lot of them, and they're now all getting released. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, well, because he did Greenland, which I really liked.
I really loved that.
That was a fun. That's getting a sequel. I don't know if he's in it, but
I didn't know that.
Apparently, he's getting a sequel. And then he did like Plane. I think I talked about.
Need a bloody sequel?
No, absolutely not. But I think they're doing one anyway because it made money. You know how it is. But I saw Plane he was in. That was like I said, it felt like a canon movie.
Yeah.
Modern day canon movie.
Well, to be honest, your review of that did make me think, maybe I'll watch it.
I had fun. I had a lot of fun watching Plane. It's rubbish, but it's fun. Yeah, it did in the best way possible. It felt like a canon movie. It was like if canon was around today, they would have made Plane. Kandahar is not really that though. So Kandahar, like I said, stars Gerard Butler, Ali Fazal, Nina Tucson White, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but I've seen her in a few things anyway. She's generally pretty good. Anyway, Tom Harris, played by Gerard Butler, he's an undercover CIA operative, and he basically is like he blends in. He's like a ghost, and they send him in places to do the spying and get the intelligence that the CIA need. And effectively, we kind of open with him under the guise of a communications contractor, telecommunications contractor, and he's installing internet. And he's like he gets stopped in. I can't remember, where is it? Iran? Is in Iran? Yeah, I think it's in Iran, and they've got like a nuclear weapons facility, and they're the CIA want to stop it. So he's basically infected their servers with malware to kind of show where the the location is so that they can hack in and do what they need to do. But under the guise of being a telecommunications contractor, and he gets stopped by these guards, and he's like, "Oh no, look, I'll just get my phone," and he gets a phone out at gunpoint and shows them football, and he's like, "Look, Wi-Fi, it's really fast now." And they kind of, they're like, "Fine." So they kind of buy it, and later on, the nuclear facility is blown up. Meanwhile, this journalist is kind of tracking what's going on in Iran, and she gets the scoop of the CIA guys, including Tom, and basically she becomes aware of who is involved in this operation, and she's talking to her news department. She ends up getting kidnapped by the Iranian government. They capture her and thus get the information about Tom. So basically, Tom is, unbeknownst to Tom, while that's happening, he's meant to be going to see his daughter for this. If this sounds cliche, then you're right. He's got an estranged family. He's going through a divorce because he cares about the job more than his family, and he's never home. And it's his daughter's birthday, and oh my god, you need to make this birthday because you never make it to the birthdays. You know the story, right? It's that story.
You mean he's Liam Neeson?
Yes, he's basically Liam Neeson, except his family don't get kidnapped. So it's not that. But it's that typical like, oh, he's an assassin or he's a spy, and he's got this family, and he neglects them because he's busy saving the world, but they don't appreciate that because they probably don't know that he saves the world. And he's got this daughter, and all she wants is for her dad to turn up to her birthday, but he's got to stop nuclear weapons, but she doesn't know. You know the story. So anyway, he is about to go back to see his daughter when he's called back in, and there's one more job. We want you to go and do this one more thing. Sneak into this place. So he does, and he heads off with this interpreter to sneak in. Where does he go? Herat? Yeah, Afghanistan. And when he gets there, he is scouting out this place when he is told by his handler, your face is all over the news. Everyone knows who you are. You are now, basically your disguise has been given out. And effectively in Herat, there are, I forget at one point, they're like, well, the Iranians are after you because you basically blew up their nuclear thing.
Everybody wants you.
Yeah, like the Iraqis fucking hate you. The Chinese hate you. Basically, all of these, they're like basically within Iraq, there are all of these powers, and all of them will basically happily kidnap you and sell you to the highest bidder. Basically. So it becomes a chase movie where he needs to get I think it's 400 miles to this safe CIA safe house where they'll then get in and pick him up and extract him. And the movie pretty much goes as you would expect. It does kind of tell it from different perspectives. We get to see these different forces trying to get to him, and meanwhile we see the CIA trying to rescue him. They're like, oh well, you got some SAS people over here. We could get them in to extract him if he gets to this location. But of course, everyone knows what he looks like, and so it's a fun action movie. It's nothing brilliant. It's kind of okay. I feel like, if you hadn't already reviewed it, I feel like I would have had a better time if I watched The Covenant.
See, so that's exactly why I didn't watch it.
Yeah, so I need to watch The Covenant still.
Ooh, that's got so many beats from The Covenant.
Funny enough, I haven't watched The Covenant, but watching it, I was like, this reminds me of Matt's review of The Covenant, except I think Covenant is probably a better movie than this is. So
yeah, because The Covenant I really did enjoy. Actually, there was a lot to, and
I didn't hate this. It was okay. It's fine. It's very run of the mill.
Even little details of The Covenant that I like the sound of more is the things like he's not estranged from his wife and family. They love him. He's married. He goes back to his family, and they those things is just little things that make it so much better.
There is a very forced dialogue conversation on the phone with him and his wife near the opening of this movie where she has to mention all the things
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, we never see you anymore, and you must make our daughter's birthday because she thinks that you don't, you know, her friends think you don't exist, and this is your last chance to prove it to her. Oh, and also you need to sign the divorce papers when you come over because I want to be done with this relationship and move on. But you need to take care of yourself, and I'm still really worried about you. It's like, oh my god, every cliche you could possibly tick in this one phone conversation.
Like, I'm sorry, do you have a list?
Yeah, it's like literally you're just going through a list, aren't you? Yeah, it's like, let's tick every box. Yeah, it's fine. It's not a terrible movie. It's just very generic and very run of the mill.
It's be the running theme of the episode, doesn't it?
Well, it is going to be the running theme of the episode, although the next one is actually pretty bad. So
okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll end on a low, but it's fine. Anyway, maybe you could turn things around with Happiness for Beginners.
Happiness for Beginners on Netflix at the moment. So this is Ellie Camper, Luke Grimes, Nico Santos, Blythe Danner's in it, which you know, just a slight was impressive for me.
Yeah,
I mean, a very small part, but so basically we are introduced to Helen, who is she's recently divorced. And she basically decides that she wants to sort of do a bit more with her life. She wants to find herself, as it were. So she decides that she's going to go on a hike. She's going to do the Appalachian Trail. You discover that her mother basically abandoned abandoned her to her grandmother when they were kids. You find out that her littlest brother died, and her mother couldn't cope, and so she gave them to the grandmother. The grandmother brought them up, and her brother's best friend is clearly played by Luke Grimes, clearly into her, and you know, you get the impression he's been into her his whole life basically. She you know, she leaves her house with her brother, and she goes on to this thing, and Luke Grimes turns up, and of course she's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, well, you know, I planned this for ages. I didn't know you were doing it." It's like, okay, bullshit, but fine. So basically, it's a sort of a comedy, drama, romance movie, with, you know, them on this trail, and Ellie Campo, who I don't know whether you've seen The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
I have. I love that show.
Yeah, so it's Ellie Campo, and she. That's kind of why I watched it, because I really do like her. I think she's really funny.
I haven't watched all of Kimmy Schmidt, but what I've seen of it, I love. Yeah. I keep meaning to go back to it. I think it's a wonderful show. I love her. Her gay housemate is hilarious, and just the two of them. I like the two of them together are just so good. It's such a good pairing.
And what's her name? Is the landlady?
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh god, Carol Kane. Carol Kane is wonderful. Is this sort of dotty hippie you know, landlady, and so it's a great sort of, I was going to say trio, but you've also got Jane what's her face as well. Yeah, I love you know. So that was what made me think, oh come on, I could do with a sort of a naff romance movie with Ellie Camper. So obviously you get the she's unequipped for this thing. She's there's one of the Nico Santos basically says, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only older person here now." And like she's like, "Hey, like what?" and obviously there's a guy. The guy in charge is this like over enthusiastic guy, and the other group members are sort of like this hippie girl, sort of who so she's like a space cadet, but you find out that she's actually in finance and she's incredibly clever,
right?
And, you know, there's all silly beats and stuff like that, and Luke Grimes, who's great in Yellowstone, is playing a sort of a slightly goofy, adorable dude in this, and it's like, wow, it's a lot different from Yellowstone, which is nice. Ellie Camper is again slightly silly and charming, and you know, it's nothing. It's not going to get you like like Wild, with Reese Witherspoon, where she goes on the journey of discovery. That's a fucking great movie. That's not remotely. Well, it's got funny moments in it, but it's not comedic. That's a really good sort of road trip movie. And there's also that what was it? It's a Bill Bryson novel where he goes on the trail. I can't remember what it's bloody called now. They did a version they did with is it Robert Redford and oh Christ, now I'm gonna forget his name. Anyway, it's not that sort of level of good. It's okay. Some of the fun stuff works. Some of it is groan inducing. There's drama when one of them breaks their legs and she has to go off and do the whole I must go and find help, and you get all those little beats, and obviously you get the unrequited love stuff where her Luke Grimes' character's like I've always thought that you were better than your husband, the guy that you married. He was a dick, and she's like obviously never seen him like that before because he's her brother's mate. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of rubbish.
Yeah, but sometimes that's fine.
Yeah, it's a sort of standard romance comedy. It's not terribly funny and it's not terribly good, but it's
inoffensive.
Yeah, it's very inoffensive and enjoyable. It's got some. I mean, I can't say great performances because it's just them doing goofy stuff. I was actually pretty impressed with Luke Grimes' comedy chops. Actually, I thought he had some moments that were quite sweet and funny. Which, if you've seen him on Yellowstone, it is actually a big difference.
Yeah,
if you're looking for a bit of fluff to pass the time, and you like these sorts of movies, yeah. Excuse me. Oh dear, sorry. I would recommend it. It's just a bit of fluff, and that's it. Really, it was enjoyable enough, and Ellie Campbell was charming, Luke Grimes was charming, so I can say that those are the good things.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. It sounds fun.
Yeah,
it sounds fun enough, which is more than could be said for Transformers.
I'm surprised you even watched it, dude. There's
one reason I watched this, and you know the reason I watched this. Because I actually enjoyed Bumblebee. That's the only reason.
I knew it wasn't going to be fucking Bumblebee. The producer already said, oh no, the next one's going to be like the old ones. And you're like...
And it is. It absolutely is. So I was really surprised. I did not want to watch Bumblebee. I watched it with my housemate, and I was really surprised at how much I really enjoyed Bumblebee. It was a fun, refreshing little movie. It wasn't anything brilliant, but it was
I disagree. I think it's a great movie.
It's fine. If they'd started the Transformers franchise with that movie,
yeah,
my God, it would have been so much better than the...
I mean, the opening, 10 minutes on Cybertron?
Great. It's like, oh my God, it's Transformers.
Cybertron, everybody looks like they're supposed to.
Yeah, and so I'd heard really bad things about this one, but I had given a copy, and I was like, do you know what? I really liked Bumblebee. I'll give it a go. It's shit. So they have regressed right back to Michael Bay. Yeah. It's Unicron. It's Unicron time. We've gone from this nice, smaller scale Bumblebee story about a girl in a car, and the car turns out to be a transformer, and then we got this real sort of charming Bumblebee and charming relationship between this kid and Bumblebee and her friend as well, to this fucking it's Unicron, great. So we've got the nostalgia of it being Unicron, but it's just another world-ending thing, and we need to find the keys to turn on the power to stop it's the same story like every Michael Bay Transformers movie. It was always this universe world-ending catastrophe. We have to get the keys to the thing and do the thing to it's like immediately I felt like, oh my god, it has regressed back to the Michael Bay movies. For some reason, Optimus Prime is an asshole in this movie.
I heard that.
Yeah, they just don't give a shit about humans, and they kind of don't care if they die in order to get back to Cybertron. They're just like, fuck them.
I cannot imagine Optimus saying shit like that.
They try to explain it as him being, he's got like, he feels guilty for what happened on Cybertron and for stranding them on Earth. There's and like the Autobots he's lost along the way, so he's become bitter.
So that makes him an asshole?
Yeah, it makes him a bitter asshole, and he's negative and he hates humans for most of the movie until he meets Optimus Primal, who teaches him the way. And
how did they explain the Optimus Primal film? Because isn't that an entirely separate universe?
No, it's the same universe. So from my limited memory of Beastmasters, is it Beastmasters?
Yeah.
I'm getting confused because I'm thinking of the movie Beastmaster now, so I'm getting lost. Beast Wars. It's Beast
Right.
Wars, I think. Yeah. So anyway, from my limited memory of Beast Wars, is that that Optimus Primal gets the name Optimus Primal because it's in the distant future, and it's like Optimus Prime is like a legend, so he's named after the legend. But then they end up falling through. They don't know this until later in the season of Beast Wars. Might be even like end of season 1, start of season 2 or something. They discover that they actually fell through a time thing, and they're actually back in time. So they're on Earth. They're on prehistoric Earth.
I remember them being on
and it does link in. No, it does link in because at one point they find the Autobots. It's kind of, I think they decided to do it late on, and they kind of shoehorned it in, but effectively they find the Autobots for a while, and they do a thing. I can't remember if they ever...
If that's a little strange though, because isn't Megatron a T-Rex in that version?
Yeah, but he's not Megatron. He's named after Megatron. Again, it's
okay.
They're not the originals. They are like future versions named after. They're right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the original Autobots and Decepticons are their ancestors, and they're named after them as whatever.
Right.
And yeah, so effectively they do meet the original Autobots. But anyway, in this, they have their own planet. It's like the Maximal planet, and it gets destroyed by Unicron. So they flee to Earth. They end up on Earth, hiding on Earth as a result. Their leader sacrifices himself so that they can escape, and they escape to Earth. And we meet new characters. The new that really charming girl and guy, I forget their names. Sorry, from the front. No, genuinely, I really liked the characters in Bumblebee.
Yeah.
They're gone. So yeah, Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Gone. And the nerdy kid, who I forget the name of,
just looking at
also gone.
Georg Lendenborg Jr.
Yeah, they're gone.
John Cena, who I really dislike, was good in that movie.
He was fine in that movie. He's gone. So now we've just got Noah, who's like this ex-military guy who's struggling to get a job because he's unreliable, but he's unreliable because he's looking after his younger brother, who is he's got like sickle cell disease. He's dying, and he can't get enough medicine. They can't afford the medicine and stuff, so that's why he's unreliable. And then we've also got Dominique Fishback, who is she plays Elena Wallace, and she is an intern at a museum, and she finds part of the key that's going to solve the Unicron problem. You know the thing. They need to unite the things to make the thing to stop the thing.
You always need the thing for the things.
Yeah. Well, you do in Transformers movies. I feel like this is every Transformer movie I've seen from Michael Bay, apart from maybe the first one. No, actually, even in the first one. No, even the first one.
Does Unicron have a voice?
I can't remember.
I was going to say, who's voicing Unicron?
Do you see my problem? I watched this about 2 weeks ago. I don't remember.
I know.
Does Unicron have a voice? I don't think so, but maybe. I'm going to scroll down Wikipedia and see.
I know Ron Perlman's Primal.
Yeah, he's not bad actually. As Primal, he's fine. He might have even done the original.
Davison as Mirage. Ugh.
Yeah, now this is weird. So they made Mirage into a Porsche 911.
Yeah, I know. I saw
instead of Jazz.
Too. I don't know why they've done that.
It's bizarre. Well, the thing is as well is that what I don't understand is I thought with Bumblebee, I was like, cool, we're going to start over. And that's fine if you're starting over.
Yeah,
But with this movie, it's quite clear they are trying to really awkwardly mash the two together, like smashing two toy sets together and being like, no, this is also in the Bay universe, even though it makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Because
I think the problem is that Bumblebee didn't make the money they wanted.
No, but it didn't make the money because fucking Transformers The Last Night and every movie before it was fucking shit. So people gave up. Bumblebee's the one that people watched at home and were like, oh, actually, this is pretty good. If they make another good one, I'll be back on board, you know?
Yeah, but like I said, the producers basically were like, oh, no, well, we're going to go back to the Bay.
It's so bad. I mean, I can see...
Make the money.
From a studio perspective, they made billions off of the Transformers. So I can see it. I can see why they did it. We do have the... You know, I mean, on the plus side, you can tell who's fighting who. The designs are better. They're more like the original Transformers look-wise.
That's something.
Yeah. Weird that they used Mirage instead of Jazz, but again, I think they did that to try and make it different, but still fit in with the Bay Transformers movies. Even though in the Bay Transformers movie, in the first movie, you see them all arrive from Cybertron. So, like, Optimus Prime wasn't on Earth at this point in time. And like none of it makes any sense if they try and link it back to the Bay universe, but it feels like they're trying their best to do that anyway, and it's just it's such a mess. But anyway, characters
was the 80s as well, wasn't it? So
yeah, this is in the 90s now. It's like 92 or something.
Okay. So what we're talking here is X-Men level of
yeah, pretty much. It's just a mess. It's another world-ending creature thing, and they need to unite the keys. And, you know, you've got all of that nonsense exposition that you've come to expect from the Bay Transformers movies in this one. Far less likable characters than we had in the last one. Like I said, I really liked the girl from the last one. I thought she was a really charming character. I would have liked to have seen more, and I thought she had a great friendship with Bumblebee. And I know they went off at the end, but I was like, they will reunite, surely, for the sequel. No.
Yeah.
Just a
I
real
wish it would have
mess.
made more money, because they would have. Hopefully, they would have actually done a proper Transformers movie, and we would have got, you know, to see more of the actual, you know, proper 80s Transformers. Then,
yeah.
That would have been lovely.
Yeah. There's no Decepticons in this. Is the Predacons, I think they're called, or whatever they're called.
Oh, okay.
And it's Scourge. We don't get Galvatron. We get Scourge. Oh,
okay.
Well, because again, I'm assuming they're doing this because they're still trying to somehow shoehorn this into the Bayverse.
Yeah.
Eventually, so they can't have Galvatron, who came after Megatron, and like so they're doing everything they can to try and not tread on the toes of the Bay universe, even though it makes no sense and wouldn't link together, no matter what they do. It's just bizarre. Some of the Maximals are fun. I mean, Ron Perlman's great. I think I don't know if he actually did the voice of Optimus Primal originally. He might have done. But we've also got Michelle Yeoh. She plays like this falcon bird. And, you know, Michelle Yeoh is always good. Always good to hear Michelle Yeoh. Better to see Michelle Yeoh as well. But,
well, I mean...
But I'll take the voice. She's a great voice actor as well.
At least he's still got Peter Cullen.
Yeah, man. How old is Peter Cullen? I keep meaning to look that up. He must be getting on. He is 82.
Ooh.
He's still got the voice, though. You know, he's still got that voice, and it still sounds amazing. Because some voice actors that, you know, obviously as you age, your voice changes.
Your voice changes, yeah.
He has managed to keep that. You know, I know they put an effect on it anyway, and they always have put an effect on it, but he still sounds great. It's
actually a weird thing, actually. But today, I was watching a video about Monkey, the 70s Japanese series, you know, Monkey Magic.
Yeah.
You know the English dub, the version that you've seen, yes, I would presume.
Yeah.
With the voice cast that you've got.
I've
You
only
know,
watched
they
I've only
they
watched the original version that was released over here. So yeah.
yeah. So they only did so many of the episodes. I think there was certain episodes that they didn't do and they didn't finish. And I think in the mid 2000s, maybe early 2000s, they did them. They basically brought them back and they got the casts, and they've aged and their voices just don't sound the same. It's really weird. I mean, you can tell it's them. You can tell it's the same people.
Yeah.
But it sounds really odd when you've got these sort of like slightly older sounding voices that are supposed to be, it's supposed to be the same shows, from one episode to another.
Well, I'm thinking this with that X-Men 97 cartoon.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the same, isn't it?
It's like they're all a bit older now. I'm not sure if they can still do those voices like they did in 92 or whatever it was that show started. It's being made by Disney. It's going to suck.
Oh, I know. And the thing is there were so many good things said at the time.
Well, and it's continuing on the story because it's left on a massive cliffhanger as well, that show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I might watch it. That might be the only Marvel thing I bother watching. I am tempted by that one at least, but
yes,
we'll see. Anyway, I cannot recommend Transformers. You'll be surprised to know. It's not great. I will be honest with you. I have forgotten 90% of this movie. It's noise. There's just robots noise.
That's just most of those movies. That's what those movies descended into. I will admit, I actually quite like the first one. The first Bay one.
No, the first one's fine, isn't it? It's not great. It's got a nice mix of comedy and action. The effects, I don't think, have ever looked better.
No.
The special effects of that first Transformers Bay movie
and you can mostly see which Transformers which in that first one.
It looks better than any CGI in any Transformers movie since that first movie. Yeah. It looks like, because they did a really good job of mixing practical with CGI in that movie. Like, like with the bus splitting in half and stuff, they used a real bus, blew it in half. And like, there's a lot of that in that movie that really grounds a lot of the stuff. I remember seeing the second Bay movie, because I quite liked the first one as well. Not that I've watched it for years, but I remember enjoying the first one. And I saw that second one, I was like, God, not only is this film terrible, but the effects are worse.
Yeah.
And they always have been since, I think. But the first one's fine.
Everything became fucking more and more grey as they went on as well. It's like,
yeah,
where's the colour gone? What the fuck's happened to the? Why don't they look like the Transformers anymore? And
that's the thing we got with Bumblebee, was it was like, oh my god, they've gone back and they actually look like those characters. And we do get that here. I mean, RC looks like RC, and you do get some, they are more recognisable. Although they have redesigned a lot as well. It's like some of them they've kept, like Optimus looks like Optimus. Bumblebee is back to being a Camaro. Like, why? Like, why have we done that? Like, it's weird. I don't know.
I think at the end of Bumblebee, though, he did become a Camaro.
Yeah, I know. And I was puzzled by it then. It's like, why? You're like, because I thought at the time, I was like, well, you cannot possibly make this work with the Bay universe, so why?
I think the funniest thing about that is Bumblebee's always been a bit naff. Making him a Camaro is just wrong.
I gotta be honest with you, Bumblebee was always one of the crappiest.
Yes.
Until he became like Goldbug, and even then he wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it is weird that the franchise. It's weird that they centered the franchise around the least interesting Transformer.
Well, he's the sort of the sweetest, most human of them, isn't he?
Well, he is, because he had he was friends with what's his name? Spike. Yeah.
Is it Spike? The humans always merge into one another. So is it? I think it was Spike.
It was Spike, I think. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Me and Ben, actually, we were talking about the human characters in the Transformers cartoons were actually pretty good. They had that kid who was disabled as well in it, and he's a really good character. They never mention his disability once. He just gets on with it, and it's amazing. Like, he's actually a really
imagine that.
But imagine that, a disabled character who's actually a really strong central character who actually is very capable and very helpful, and actually contributes to the team, and is one of them, and is not judged in any way, and it's never brought up, because why would you bring it up?
Weirdly, again, and on another sort of slight tangent.
That's all right.
I thought Rumble in the Bronx.
I love. Oh well, hang on. Let's just hold on one second. Transformers: Rise of the Beast is shit, and now we're moving on to other things. Now we'll talk about Rumble in the Bronx because that's a good movie.
I was gonna say, so Rumble in the Bronx, there's a disabled kid in that, and
there is, yeah.
He's actually really good.
Yep.
He's in.
It's a weird modern thing where we seem to have regressed when it comes to disabled characters. I don't know why. It's weird. And obviously there are exceptions to that rule. There were movies that didn't, but there, I look back to some of these old cartoons and old shows, and I'm like, yeah, there was better disabled representation in older stuff, and they were treated more like humans than we seem to be treating them in movies and stuff now. It's bizarre.
We should also say there was a lot of, disabled people must be bad guys because they're different. So there is. There is that. Yeah, absolutely. So we have to all say that as well. But I think on balance, though, on balance, I think it's the whole thing of making that's all those characters are these days. It's like, oh, you mean you don't actually have a personality and likes and dislikes? That's just who you're, just disabled.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes your personality and everything that you are. It's like, no, I think people are more than just a disability, actually. But yeah, I can't stop thinking about fucking Silver Bullet, the scene with the bloody firework.
Yes.
Like, I don't know why. Like we've started talking about this now, and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about that kid on the bridge with the firework shooting the firework into the eye of the.
Silver Bullet is
it's one of the best terrible movies ever.
Yeah, it really is. It's there's so much in that movie that I love. And
me too. There's so much that's terrible. Yeah.
The worst thing is the fact that Cycle of the Werewolf, as a novella sort of thing, is gorgeous because of the Bernie Wrightson illustrations. I love Cycle of the Werewolf, and it's one of my favourite Stephen King things, which is probably sort of sad to say because it's like condensed. It's not like sprawling like a lot of King's other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not saying I don't like King. I love King, but he can be very sprawly.
Oh yeah,
unnecessarily sprawly.
Yeah, I agree.
And Cycle of the Werewolf is very condensed and very, beautiful because of the artwork. And then you sort of watch Silver Bullet, and it's like, oh, there's some terrible stuff in this movie. I do. I mean, I both love and hate the fact that the uncle builds him this fucking wheelchair. It's like turbocharged wheelchair, which is like, well, that wasn't in there.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of sort of sweet as well, because Gary Busey's on full mad uncle mode in that, and he's great. And what's his name? The guy, I always forget his name. The guy playing the Reverend. He was in June and
I can't think of his name either. I know who you mean though.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look him up because he's in Twin Peaks and stuff, wasn't he? He was
Well, while you look him up, we should mention, while you look him up, that the director of one of my favorite films of all time, The Exorcist, William Friedkin, passed away this week. Passed away on Monday. French Connection, The Exorcist. I mean, I still hold The Exorcist as one of my top 5 movies of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. We have covered it on this show before. And unfortunately passed away this week. He's quite old. I think he was well into his 80s. But sad nonetheless that we've lost another talent from the world. And interesting that
I saw a thing where with him talking about his career and stuff. And he was saying that, The Exorcist was the peak of his career. It never got better than that. And he said, that's mainly because of me. He says, it's mainly because I was just difficult to work with and I'm a bit of a dick, basically.
I mean, the thing
and
is...
I love the fact that he was willing to admit that...
Yeah. And I would say as well... I would say as well, if I was a director and I made The Exorcist or The Wicker Man or Alien or something, I'd be like, hey, I made an absolute masterpiece, and if I only made one masterpiece, that is fine by me. Like, you know, and he also made The French Connection, which is a tremendous film as well.
Exactly.
So it's not like he was a one hit. It's not, you know,
he's
a very talented director.
I think it's the whole idea that, oh, you know, you have to be a success, and
forever.
Those two movies are, you know,
that's a career's worth.
Many people's top 10 lists of movies.
Yeah,
they're right up there with the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah,
and
he did them back to back, by the way.
Exactly.
Literally walked off the set of The French Connection, started making The Exorcist. Like, wow, you just literally made two of the greatest films ever made in a row.
Yeah,
it's pretty good going. But yeah, so just wanted to.
I guess we should also mention Paul Rubens in that as well.
Yes, yeah.
Unbeknownst to most people, struggling against cancer for the last 60 years, I believe.
Yeah, I think a lot of stars do keep it quiet, don't they? I don't know if he did say publicly. I didn't know anything about it until he passed away.
He only his family basically knew.
Yeah,
and what a great actor as well. Actually, he's had some really low key performances and things that you just wouldn't expect. And apparently, you know, a real nice guy. And I don't think Pee Wee Herman really took off over here. I mean, I don't think we even showed, you know.
No, I've seen it subsequently.
Yes, that's the thing. I've watched them, you know, subsequently, but I don't think it ever really sort of was big over it. And I don't think Big Top Pee Wee was big over here, even though that's Pee Wee's Big Adventure wasn't, I think, big over here. But I remember watching that movie and thinking, wow, this is really funny. This is really, you know, it's a Burton movie, so you sort of think, you know, when Burton was great. And I mean, I love him in he's got one of my favourite bits of the Buffy movie.
Yes.
When he's dying and he's just going, ooh, ah. Ooh, it just goes on, and they even go back to it at the very end of the movie, which is fucking hilarious. And he was great as, you know, he like tiny little roles, like the Penguin's dad.
Yeah.
In Batman Returns.
I've got really fond memories of him as Max in Flight of the Navigator.
Oh yes, of course.
Like one of my favorite roles of his is just his voice, but it's such a cool performance, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, he was great as the Spleen in Mystery Men as well, which is
yes. Oh god,
Mystery
that's
Men
such a good movie.
Superhero movies.
It really is. That had such good commentary, and do you know what? That's probably more relevant today than ever with all of the superhero nonsense we get these days. I must go back and rewatch Mystery Men. That's a good film.
Maybe we should
we're like angry is like the stupidest superpower.
He is.
Yeah, good
it's
stuff.
got great things like the bowler and
yeah.
and stuff.
Man.
And, yeah, Hank Azaria is the what was it? Was it the Blue Raj? Was it
something like that?
Blue Raja. Yeah, that's a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. Yeah.
But yeah, so you know he was sorely missed. He was a great comedic actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everett McGill was the name of the actor from.
Okay. Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, he is. Oh, I forgot he was in Quest for Fire. Now there's a movie I haven't seen since I was a kid.
I'm gonna have to look that one up. Quest for Fire. What is that? That is yes. Oh yeah. Ron Perlman. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know the movie. Yeah.
Movie.
Good stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? Did we talk about Godzilla -1?
I don't remember whether you did on air or not.
No. Looks incredible. That is how you do a teaser trailer.
Absolutely.
That was like, don't show much, but you've shown enough. It looks fantastic.
Enough to get that they've gone back to the sort of slightly cat-looking.
Yeah, it's very Heisei looking, isn't it? It's kind of Heisei mixed with the legendary modern Godzilla the American Godzilla. It's like they've merged the two together, where you've got like American style legendary Godzilla mixed with the 90s Heisei Godzilla It looks great.
Yeah.
It looks bleak as fuck.
Yeah.
Set immediately post-war, because when I look at that teaser, it looks to me like the destruction is. It looks like the firebombing of Tokyo rather than Godzilla destruction at the start.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that it may be like immediately after, like post-war.
Yes.
As opposed to obviously original Godzilla, which was in the 50s.
Like 10 years later.
10 years later, yeah. This looks like it might be immediate, and from what I understand, that's the reason for the name. That Japan is at 0 post-war, and then Godzilla turns up. It's like, well, if you think it's bad now, here's now a giant monster to take you to -1. So they're like they start off at 0 post-war, and then they're going to be taken to minus. So sounds very bleak, much like the original Godzilla was. I have heard rumors about what this film's about. Don't know if we want to go into them. Might be best just to leave those and wait and see what happens, because it might be very big spoilers if it's true. So
you've kind of intrigued me now, but
I'll tell you off air if you want to hear.
Okay.
It may not be the case anyway. I have a feeling it might be internet bullshit, but it sounds interesting. So we'll talk about it off air. But I think it's a tremendous looking trailer. I'm obviously excited for it. I would be anyway. I'm very much the target audience for this film, so. I'll put my bias out there. I'm very excited. I think it looks tremendous, though. I think it looks really.
That was a like you said, a damn good way of doing a teaser. That was.
Yeah. There is rumors we're going to get a full trailer soon. I kind of hope we don't. I'd be happy with that.
I presume we would at some point.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that, though. I'm like, just release it now. like leave it at that. Like if I only see that until it's released, I'd be really happy.
They were pretty tight about Shin Godzilla, weren't they? They didn't really put out.
They did do a teaser, and then they did a longer trailer. So I'm assuming
that's what the trailer didn't really tell you a great deal.
No, and I feel like that's what we'll get here. We'll get more, but it still won't show too much.
That would be cool if that's the case.
But yeah, very excited for that. That's probably going to end up being, it's certainly a cinema watch if I'm able to watch it in the cinema here. I hope so. Shin Godzilla got a UK cinema release, limited. So I'm pinning all my hopes on the Watershed. I'm like, come on, Watershed, you can do it.
That's probably the best bet, isn't it?
Yeah, I might actually contact them nearer the time and just say, are you doing one in December? Because that would be nice. So it comes out Godzilla Day in Japan, and then a month later in the US. So we get it December 1st.
Okay.
Or the US get it December 1st. I don't know whether we will get it then as well, but I hope so. But is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Just one little thing that caught my eye in it, which this is, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one, but
okay.
So it's now I've got to find the name of the company. Twilight, maybe? I don't know. Sorry, not Twilight. Well, Joe Knetter, Robert Lucas, and Paolo Zetti are working on a treatment that was written by George A. Romero for Twilight of the Dead.
Oh no!
It's been given the blessing of Suzanne Romero, his wife.
Okay.
So, as I said, it is a treatment that was written by Romero.
Yeah, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but I was not a fan of Romero's later work.
No.
I didn't like his zombie movies after. I mean, I thought Land was okay. It had moments, but I didn't overall. Yeah. It's like, And then after that, I really didn't like Diary of the Dead. I thought was awful. Island of the Dead, whatever the other ones were, Survival of the Dead.
Yeah.
For me, it just
kind of felt like nobody really gave a fuck.
Yes, exactly that. It felt like Land of the Dead was probably the last one where people were really invested.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just got lazier and lazier. If it, hey, it could be great, and I will probably watch it. But I do worry because I kind of, on reflection, I feel like I wish I'd never gone any further than Day of the Dead, which I like. That was a great trilogy, and we could have left it there. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. We'll give it a go.
I mean, it's a sort of you kind of want to. There's still that hint of nostalgia in me that would like to see another one. Maybe if it was Romero enough.
Yes.
The fact that other people are handling it, makes me think, ooh. And they've said it's going to be coming up with talking about social issues and current,
as it should be.
And you think, well, yeah, because they did do that. So
that's
I
what they
kind of
always were.
That.
Yeah.
The question is, how are you going to handle that?
Yeah.
Because most social commentary movies these days aren't the subtlest of.
And what are you going to do that hasn't already been done by Romero in that original trilogy?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to comment on that hasn't been covered?
In recent years, the social side of the zombie stuff is been done better in Japan or Korea.
Yep.
And South America, there's a couple of South American zombie movies that are doing what those original Dead movies did.
Yes, exactly.
So much better than what
mm-hmm.
America and Europe are doing at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll be interesting. I'll at least give it a go, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You can only see how it's handled.
What are we doing next time, Matt?
I would like to do Streets of Fire.
Very well, we will do Streets of Fire.
Brilliant.
Sounds good to me. I haven't watched it for ages, so...
Yeah.
Well up for that. So we will be back next time with Streets of Fire. I'm off to move everything around upstairs.
Okay.
Run out of locations for the movie, so I need to turn upstairs into a completely different place. It's for tomorrow morning, so that's going to be fun. I might just do it in the morning, but yeah, I've got a lot of things to move around and shift about to make it look like a different place because I've already filmed up there. So, it'll be fine. But anyway, yes, we will be back next time. Until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next week.